Hi, friends. How's everyone going today? It's a bit cloudy today, but at least the weather is fine. Still pretty wet out here, though, but nothing I can't handle. So I came out today. I wanna talk about something that's been on my mind for a while. The birds are very lively today, that's for sure. So, spiritual amnesia. Where do I even begin with this? Well, okay, so we all forget. Most of us, it takes a long time to remember these things. Sometimes we never even remember these things. We just go our whole lives on autopilot, and it's never become apparent for some people. It's just the way it is. It's all about everyone's personal journey and development and the things that they go through in life and how they perceive things in their own way, how they evaluate stuff, everything, their belief system, the things that we've been told about just about everything. But generally speaking, majority of us has this issue. We suffer from spiritual amnesia. And what do I mean by that? Well, we forget that we are spiritual beings experiencing this material reality, this physicality, right? This meat suit, this flesh and bone, this physical body that we have, this pile of DNA. You can call it anything, whatever you want to call it. This will eventually age, decay, and cease to exist. It's just reality, let's face it. It doesn't matter how well you take care of your body, your vessel, right? Eventually it'll be gone one day. But that's not the end. That's what we should keep in mind. Because your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to give the name, whatever you want to call it, that's eternal. That's forever. That never ceases to be, that never ceases to exist. And all these things that we go through here, all this learning from the school of life, that you retain, that you get to keep. And that is what gives you this wisdom that allows you to become a better version of yourself, to continue to grow and to evolve. So, and that stacks, it keeps stacking on top of itself. So every time we choose to come back, and that's the other thing about choosing to come back. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to make this video too long. Maybe I'll make a more in-depth video about that later on to go into more detail. But we come here, and we all have this misconception that what you have, materially speaking, is all that matter. That's what makes you a better person. That's what makes you successful in life, so to speak. And to a certain degree, That is not wrong, but that is just one aspect of the journey. And it's an aspect that in the end it's absolutely and completely meaningless, because none of the things that you have acquired throughout your entire lifetime here that are physical, that are palpable, touchable, made of matter, solid matter, right? And even that is debatable, because we all know that a lot of this reality that we experience is not as physical as it seems, and it's more like a projection of our consciousness, because we have to have something to be able to experience life itself. So we create all of these things, we create all of these scenarios, and that's how we experience the whole thing, right? But we have to remember that, all these hurdles, trials, tribulations, all these things that we go through, they happen to make us better, regardless of what we think and how we feel about it. And the sooner we understand and accept these things, the best your life will be in the long run. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, it takes most of our lives to figure these things out. That shouldn't be a deterrent or something to depress you, or make you feel resentful about whatever. It doesn't matter, because as long as you realize that, it doesn't even matter how old you are. you know it's never too late to make a difference, in the sense that now you understand what it's about, and now you can do something and act upon it, whatever it is that you're going to choose to do. So, and that's why we have this amnesia, so to speak, because another part of the big bigger part of why this happens to most of us is because, well, I'm gonna make a whole video about this as well. So stay tuned for that, where I'm gonna talk about history and how we don't even know our own history as human beings. Where do we really come from? What our true, you know, history and origins are about, and how much of what happened in our past has been hidden from us and replaced with a bunch of made up stuff that is not the real picture. And that's not to say that some of these things aren't true, but I can assure you that most of the history that we have been taught is a fabrication, because that's what happens. Um, the victor will write whatever history they want us to think that that was the true history. And like I said, in the past, it will only take 2 or 3 generations at the most for people to never even question anything, and just accept everything at face value, and not question things. Only those free thinkers, deep thinkers, people who have this like natural born soul wisdom that they have acquired throughout past lives, that somehow they still have this hunch, and they still have this feeling and remembrance that it's not these things that we're being told. And then we start to question things, and then we start to do our own research, and we start figuring a lot of stuff out by ourselves because we always knew deep down inside that a lot of these things that we're being told are not the way they said they were, or were not the way they said they were. So keep that in mind. That's one of the biggest reasons why we have this amnesia. We don't even know who we are. Where do we come from? Who put us here? Did someone put us here? Did we put ourselves here? And all of these questions that we should be asking. Because like I said before, we definitely don't come from monkeys. No matter how similar our DNAs may be. That's not the story, guys. That's not the story at all. And there's a lot of things that can be talked about when it comes down to this, and we'll talk about it. No worries. And it doesn't matter how accurate our take is on things like this. It's never going to be the whole picture, and truly, we're never going to really know the whole story until the day we are no longer in this physical realm. Then we'll know everything, we'll remember everything, we'll have access to all that information. But until that day comes, we're still gonna have questions, and we would still like to get some answers. I think it's important to know our true history, because I think that without knowing the full picture, it becomes really hard to understand life as a whole and our true purpose here for a lot of us. And this is why not everybody cares about these spiritual things and spiritual evolution, the soul, or even believe in things like that, because some people, all they care about is whatever they can acquire here throughout their physical lives, and not knowing, because some people don't even believe that their life continues after the physical ceases to be. So it makes sense that if you don't believe in things like that, yeah, you're gonna want to acquire whatever the heck you can acquire throughout your life here. But keep in mind, for those of us that know that that's not the end, physical death is not the end, you won't take any of your trinkets and your money and your gold and your house and your car, whatever the heck you care about, to the other side. That's not gonna happen. Just get over it. That's a fact. It doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, we all end up the same way. And whether the worms eat you underground, if they put you on a casket, or whether, we choose to be burned, that won't change. It's still gonna be the same end in the end. That's why focusing on the physical so much, it's really not healthy, spiritually speaking, because it's not gonna help you. It's not gonna help you once you pass. And the part that matters is the wisdom that you acquire from the experiences that you go through. So keep that in mind. That's all. And I know it's getting better now, and I know that, the whole spiritual amnesia is not as big of a thing as it was maybe, a couple hundred years ago. But I also feel that, a couple hundred years ago, because the world was a lot different back then, there were a lot more people that were focused on the spiritual side of things than the material side of things that there is today, because of all the external influences that we are subjected to and bombarded with on a daily basis very heavily. Technology and social media have a very negative impact overall on the population than people may think or believe. That is my view. That is my personal stance on it, and I'll stand by it because I know it to be true. I will tell you one thing though, if I had a choice to go back in time, 100 or a couple hundred years, I would do it in a heartbeat because I know the world was a better place back then. Yeah, it might have been worse in some aspects, but I think overall it was a better way to live life. I could be wrong though, but that's the way I look at it. So this is really all I wanted to talk about on this one, and maybe the next one that I'll talk about the whole history thing and how there's a lot of stuff that is missing that we need to figure it out. If you like this content, if you like what I do, if this resonates with you in any way, feel free to like, subscribe, share. It helps the channel, give it more reach to those who are ready to receive this type of message. I love you all. Never stop loving yourself. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Take care, my friends.